Welcome students. Now in the last class we have learnt about several vocabularies that are required to have a clear grasp about the subject. Now during the presentation I had mentioned that I would be taking each of the terminologies and I would give the required illustration so that you would be in a position to appreciate the terms and also understand where that particular term is used, and probably even go further in knowing the reason for the presence of the term. So having given you that, let me move on to start off with categorical variable. Now I did mention to you about categorical variable. This variable is used to represent what is called as the categorical data. Whenever you have a categorical data, we use categorical variable to represent categorical data. Now, let me give you a definition where and when categorical data would come into play. So, the categorical data uses labels, names, or other descriptions, or I would say other descriptions or descriptors to identify the exclusive categories, or we can state it as types of things in consideration. Say for example, subjects. Now we got math, physics, chemistry, biology, social studies, history, Python, JavaScript, Java, C++, so on. Each of this is a categorical data. Now you might be wondering, when do these come into play? Say for example, you want to conduct a survey among 100 students and you want to ask them the favorite subject. What is your favorite subject? Right? So in that case, one might say math, one other might say JavaScript, someone might say Python, other person might say chemistry, and so on and so forth. So categorical data uses label names, or I should say labels, names, or other descriptors to identify the exclusive categories. Now when it comes to the utilization, this is the data, right? So when we utilize this data, we require what is called as the categorical variable. We need a variable to represent the data, because variable is the container. Remember that variable is the container where we put in the data. Okay, so much so for that. Now let me head forth to give you a good illustration. Now say for example, you are conducting a survey among 100. I'm taking 100 because 100 is the easier number for people to understand. 100 households, and you want to know what type of car they use to commute to work, right? So what I wish to do is, let me give you that survey. So I want to draw a table. Say a table is drawn. Now I'm going to mark, say, the following symbols. If the person is having a Ford car, I will mark it as F. If the person is having a Volkswagen, I will mark it as V. If the person is having a Toyota, I will mark it as T. If the person is having, say, there is a brand called Tank, I will mark it as TA. It's got Honda, I will mark it as H. If the person has got anything, say Lamborghini, I will mark it as LA, right? So I'm going to put in the observation. My question to you is, this is the data, and we have got this data after conducting a survey among 100 households. Now the question is, what do you understand from this? What do you understand from this? Because we are actually dealing with descriptive statistics, descriptive stats, and in case of descriptive stats, we are all the time trying to understand what the data is telling us. So this is the key word, have it in mind. Now the first and foremost thing, what we need to do to understand this is to have a frequency distribution. Now in this case you can clearly see I have taken here the categorical variable. I have utilized F, V, T, TA, H and LA. So because these are representing the data in this survey. Now after allotting the categorical variable and putting in the data or collecting the data, what we have to do is we will have to do a very important part of analysis, that is called as frequency distribution. Now I'm going to give you an illustration. So from this data we need to collect the frequency, or we need to obtain the frequency distribution. So how do we do that frequency distribution? So foremost we need another table. So let me draw the table. Now this is just an approximate value because of the limitation that I have got, because I need to use the pen and paper to represent the information. So that is got its own limitation, but it is one of the powerful ways to teach things. So let me just give you the frequency distribution. So what we need to do first is we need to represent this data which you see here. You have to transfer it into this table. So for that we need two headings. So this is going to be cars and this is going to be frequency. Now in this cars and frequency, foremost what we need to do is we need to put on the variables that we have. So F stands for Ford and Volkswagen, then Toyota, TA tank, and then Honda, and then last is Lamborghini. So if you see that I have given H, but there is Lamborghini also. So for us we got one beautiful box where we can put in Lamborghini. So LA, right? So and then there's another box here, so LA. So we got three fillings there for Lamborghini. Okay, fine. So let me enter Lamborghini here, LA, and then we need to actually complete the table. So this is going to be our table, the frequency distribution table. So in this, what we have to do is we have to look for the number of Ford cars. that we have, or that we have obtained in the data. So I'm just completing this table. Now let us assume that we have located 45 households which are using Ford. Volkswagen, the number of people who are using Volkswagen be 10, and Toyota, the number of people using Toyota say 20. The number of people using tank is 08. Now we got 100 households, so this total should be 100. So now make sure that you add the total up. 5 and 8, 13, 1, 5, 6, 7, 8. So already 8 is there. And the Lamborghini I have entered is 3. 1, 2 and 3. So Lamborghini should be 3. So totally 86, and this is Honda is going to be 14. So this is the frequency distribution we have obtained. From where? From the data. So now you know how to use the categorical variable. Now you know how to get the categorical variable and utilize the categorical variable in obtaining the frequency distribution. So this actually covers the major part in understanding, or in major part in descriptive statistics. So make sure that whenever you add the total, it adds up to 100, because we have surveyed 100 households. And not only that, make sure that these frequencies add up to 100. So 7, 15, 20, 2, 6, 7, 9, 10. Perfect, right? 100 we get it. Now after we have got this, we have to move on to what is called as a relative frequency. Now many students confuse themselves between frequency distribution and relative frequency. Now what is the difference between relative frequency and frequency distribution? Can anyone tell me in the comment section? Okay, so let me give you this definition of frequency distribution. This tells us how many times a category has occurred or appeared or occurred. How many times a category? F is a category, it has occurred 45 times. V is a category, it has occurred 10 times, and so on and so forth. And Lamborghini is a category which has occurred 3 times. Now this gives us the number, but from this number, our ability to understand the distribution of the category is limited. So what we do is we go to relative frequencies. Now what is relative frequency? Now this tells us the proportion of each category in the total size. That's the best way to define relative frequency. So whenever you say or associate a relative frequency value for F, that number will tell you what is the proportion of Ford cars amidst the total population or total sample size. And that is a very important understanding. So this is required so that we can have a clear understanding. So that is the underlying statement that you have to know. And understanding of what? Understanding of the distribution of each category in the survey. So having mentioned that, what I wish to do is I will have to get the relative frequency. So how do I do that? Now there is a formula you have to know. To get the relative frequency, I will utilize a formula. So when I say relative frequency, what am I doing is I am talking about relative frequency for each category. So this is equal to frequency, you can say category or class frequency of, say if I were to mention it as the relative frequency of a class. So whenever I say class, it means the category in question. So in this case it's F. So this is going to be the frequency of the class divided by N. What is N? N is nothing but the total observations. So in this case, if I were to say or talk about the relative frequency of Ford, relative R dot F frequency of the category Ford, that is going to be 45 observations, or frequency 45, right? I hope you're able to see 45 divided by total number of observations is 100, which is equal to 0.45. So this would give me an understanding, oh, the distribution of Ford is really large, right? 0.45. Okay, so having given you that insight, now what I wish to do is I would like to actually give the frequency distribution of each of these. Now what I will do is I will just draw a bar like this, okay, so that I don't have to move to the next page. So this is going to be R dot F, relative frequency. So this is going to be 0.45. This is going to be 0.10 divided by 100. This is going to be 0.20. This is going to be 0.08. This is going to be 0.14. And this is going to be 0.03. Now if you add all each of these, say 8, 4 plus 3, 7, 15, 20, carry 2, right? 4 added with 2, 6, 7, 9, 110, right? 6, 0 carry out, add 1, so you get 1 point. This is the total. 1.00 is the total, and in 1.00 you get 0.45 relative frequency for Ford. So that would mean Ford is holding a substantial share in the market for this sample of 100, right? So that is the beautiful understanding that we have got. Now what if I want to get a better visualization? So what should I do if you are interested in performing a better visualization? Now what you can do is you can represent this by means of a bar chart, right? Now I'm going to draw a bar chart for this. So let me show you a bar chart. I can use this. I got a white sheet. Probably I'll use this white sheet here. So the data is present before our eyes, and I will make a representation of the bar chart here, right? So this is the bar chart. So you draw the axis. I need the y-axis and I need the x-axis, right? So in the x-axis you can write the name that you want. This is going to be the branch, right? So you can put in the distributions, or I would say the numbers on the y-axis. So this is going to be 0, and this is going to be 5 and 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and one more 45. Okay, now the first brand is Ford, right? Ford has got, let me show you, Ford has got 45. Ford has got 45. So what you need to do is just go enter, click on 45, and you drop down a perpendicular, and then this measurement you can approximately take, say 0.5 or something like that, and drop this down, because that has got no symbolic inferences for this figure that I am drawing. Now this is represented by means of the categorical variable f, or you can also place in Ford down. And then next comes Volkswagen. Volkswagen is 10 units, so that is over here. So make sure you place in the same measurement, 10 Volkswagen. And then comes 20. 20 is Toyota, right? I hope you can see 20 is Toyota. So go up here and place in 20, Draw 20 is Toyota. Okay, so T, and then this is the next brand I mentioned to you. I'm using TA. TA stands for tank. There's a brand called tank, and 8, so that is going to be somewhere over here, 8. Right, now you have to space them equally, right? So 8 is over here, so this is tank is TA. Probably you can write Volkswagen, Toyota, and tank, and then you got Hyundai. Honda is 14, so you will have to stretch this line. Honda is 14, so 14 is over here, and then you draw 14 Honda, and then you have the last one. The last one is Lamborghini. Lamborghini is 3 units, only 3 units, so somewhere over here, right? So just 3 households are commuting to office using Lamborghini. So this is LA, Lam, and Honda. Now this is called as the bar chart. Bar chart. Now remember, bar chart is not histogram. Bar chart is not histogram. Have it in mind. Bar chart is bar chart. Okay, so that is about this representation. Now you can also give a representation for, I should say, relative frequency distribution. So this is going to be relative frequency bar chart, right? You can also do that. So for that, what you need to do, the values, you need to draw the same representation, and what you need to do is you need to have a different y-axis. Okay, so the y, this is the y-axis which I'm using. Now the frequency distribution is 0.45 for Ford, 0.10 for Volkswagen, and Toyota 0.20, tank is 0.08, Honda is 0.14, and Lamborghini is 0.3. So how do I do that? So I start with this end. I start here with 0, and I make the divisions in the following fashion. Say 0.05, 0.10, 0.15, 0.20, 0.25, 0.30, 0.35, 0.40, 0.45, right? So that is how it goes on. I have given 0.45. probably you can stretch further if you want, but we don't have values greater than that. 0.45 is the maximum we have got. Probably you can give one more value, say 0.50. So it's Ford is 0.45, so that is over here. So I can just mention here Ford, and Volkswagen is 0.10, so that's going to be over here. Volkswagen. So I hope you're watching this. Volkswagen, this is 0.10, and Toyota is 0.20. So that is going to be over here. 0.20 is Toyota. That's going to be over here. And this is Toyota. And you got the next one, tank is 0.08. This is tank, yeah, 0.08. You see that? 0.08. This is tank. So I'm going to go to 0.08 tank, which is over here. And you can You can mark that. So this is going to be tank. And Honda is 0.14. 0.14 is over here. Okay. Honda 0. And then you got Lamborghini is 0.03. So Lamborghini is 0. You see that? 0.03. So that is going to be somewhere over here. 0.003 is somewhere over here. Okay. So draw that. And Lamborghini. So this is the relative frequency distribution using bar chart. Okay, so that is how you perform the descriptive statistics for this illustration. Now it is not yet completely complete, right? But this will give us a fairly better view of the data that we have collected from 100 households. Okay, so of course I have given you a rounded value, that is to facilitate understanding. Now this is the first lesson of providing you with illustration. We will again meet in the next lesson with a new topic, and so that we will gravitate towards the fruition of a greater understanding of the terms and the terminologies that we have studied. Thank you, students. Enjoy your night.